The story kicks off with a bang! In demon territory under a bleeding sky, 4 epic warriors face a nightmare boss. Our guy Eftal, a sorcerer who spent his life grinding magic to a legendary level, leads the charge with earth-shattering explosions. The beast counters, but the hero's combo completely erases it. Eftal drops to his knees, panting in disbelief. Did we actually win? The scene shifts to a luxurious royal castle with the crowd cheering loudly. Kneeling before the king, the heroes receive the ultimate honor. The king stands tall and drops the legendary title, the 4 Emperors. Eftal is completely shook. That title is strictly locked behind noble blood. But because his terrifying magic broke all the rules, the king shatters tradition and officially crowns him the Lightning Emperor, placing the silver crown on him. 40 years of his life spent grinding magic, surviving brutal training, making countless sacrifices, and dealing with killer isolation. In this exact moment, his ultimate dream became reality. Eftal can't hold his emotions back, crying while humbly thanking the king. He finally got the absolute respect he chased his entire youth. Years fly by, and Eftal ages into an old man rocking a full white beard, but he still keeps his heavy aura and iconic green cape. The scary emperor now lives a simple life, teaching village kids magic control. Enter Marlin, a super cute elf girl with long white hair, his assistant and favorite student. The kids try hard to balance magic circles on their heads. When Eftal tells them to rest, he suggests Marlin take a breather too. But this girl is a non-stop engine of ambition. She flat out refuses to rest, confidently flexing that she's proudly the #1 disciple of the Lightning Emperor. Wasting zero time, she begs him to teach her advanced level 6 magic right now without delay. But behind that innocent smile is a dark secret buried in the past. Eftal's mind is pulled into a grim flashback of a destroyed battlefield. A younger Eftal discovers a dead demon mother holding a tiny bundle. Inside was a terrified, crying elf baby. That baby was Marlin. The gut-wrenching truth is her family died as collateral damage in Eftal's legendary war. To this day, Marlin has zero clue that her role model is the guy who accidentally destroyed her family. In the present, Eftal looks at her with a heavy gaze full of guilt, regret, and the affection of a dad making amends. He shuts down her rushing, strictly deciding they need to stick to the basics. Marlin senses his hesitation but innocently smiles and agrees. The dark past stays buried in the Emperor's heart, but for how long? Marlin, our cute elf girl, is walking all alone. She's terrified, but she's got this crazy determination burning inside. She decides to solo a dangerous cave to hunt down a monster. Why? To prove she's truly Eftal's #1 disciple, and more importantly, to take the burden of teaching off his shoulders so he can finally rest. It's pure innocence mixed with bravery, but will this forest show her any mercy? Suddenly, the nightmare gets real. Marlin sprints out of the tunnel completely terrified after blasting a massive werewolf with a level 4 spell inside the cave, and the beast absolutely tanked it. Panic sets in, and she's left with only one desperate move. Gathering every ounce of mana, she summons a level 6 spell, Thunderbolt! The blast shakes the whole forest. Marlin hypes up thinking she won, but that joy is crushed in a second when the beast steps out of the smoke untouched and lunges at her. Marlin trips, hitting the ground, and the monster opens its jaws for the kill. Looks like game over, but right at the last second, the MVP steps in. Eftal appears, standing like an absolute tank between her and the beast. He gives her a strict scolding, reminding her that rushing for power only makes it fragile. The monster tries to blitz him, but Eftal doesn't even let it breathe. With ice-cold badassery, he casually activates a level 10 spell. A legendary pillar of light drops from the sky, completely erasing the monster from existence. Marlin just stares at him, totally starstruck by this insane flex of raw power. We cut back to their quiet home, but that peace hides a storm. Marlin goes to check on Eftal, only to be hit with a gut-wrenching shock. She catches him coughing up blood. A deadly sickness is eating his body. She breaks down crying, begging him to rest. Why torture yourself when you're literally the strongest in the world? Right there, Eftal reveals his deepest insecurity. He admits he always felt like the weakest of the 4 heroes. During the war, his younger comrades were natural prodigies, while he desperately struggled just to keep up. He's pushing his dying body to the limit just to train a new, talented generation like her to carry the torch. a truly heartbreaking scene showing the Emperor's massive mental burden. We cut back to the village where a kid comes rushing in panting, holding a paper with a legendary scientific breakthrough. The Flame Emperor just invented a magic test that reveals a person's natural aptitude for magic, something everyone thought was literally impossible. Eftel, being the ultimate magic nerd, decides to test this out on his students right away. He sets up test tubes with magic water and drops in a strand of Marlin's hair. Instantly, the tubes glow up insanely bright. The blue and green light up the whole room, proving that Marlin has an S-rank aptitude in water and wind magic. That's literally the highest tier possible. All the kids are completely starstruck, and Eftel just smiles proudly because he always knew she was built different. But curiosity takes Eftel down a completely different path. He explains to the kids how the old system was super slow and clunky, but with this test, they can figure out a kid's talent from the day they're born. Right then, he decides to test himself. Marlin and the kids are hyping him up, fully expecting the Lightning Emperor's tubes to literally explode from raw power. Eftel plucks a hair, and his mind instantly flashes back. He remembers the 40 years of pure hardship he went through, the brutal training, the endless sweat, and the crushing isolation. He grinded hundreds of times harder than anyone else alive, always wondering, how much natural talent do I actually have? He drops the hair into the tubes, and everyone holds their breath, waiting for that blinding light that's going to prove the Emperor's ultimate greatness. But the reality check hits like an absolute truck. The tubes don't change color at all. They stay completely clear. 0 magical aptitude. That result drops on Eftel heavily. He panics, trying the test again and again, but the outcome is exactly the same. 0. Not a single magic spirit responds to him. Eftel stands there totally paralyzed as the missing puzzle pieces finally click in his brain. He finally understands the brutal truth. He realizes why his younger comrades easily left him in the dust and why he always had to push his body beyond its absolute limits just to survive the war and stand next to them. He had absolutely 0 natural talent. His god-tier power was purely the result of agonizing, relentless effort. This harsh reality completely shatters him mentally, and combined with his deadly sickness, his body just gives out. He collapses to the floor, violently coughing, while a terrified Marlin screams his name. After a period of pure agony, we see Eftel literally on his deathbed, taking his final breaths in a dark, gloomy room. Marlin tries to bring him some hot water, but he shuts her out because he doesn't want her to see him completely breaking down. Eftel stares at the ceiling, tears of pure frustration streaming down his face. He always dreamed of reaching the absolute peak of magic, but that massive brick wall called talent completely crushed him. He feels pathetic, realizing that all his insane grinding just wasn't enough to break the laws of nature. The frustration eats at his soul worse than the sickness itself. He completely agonizes, wishing he just had more time to grind, and in the middle of that heavy regret, the Emperor closes his eyes for good. But death wasn't the game over screen. Eftel opens his eyes and finds himself in this crazy, blinding white void. Suddenly, a glowing goddess appears and drops a massive bomb on him. Because of his unbreakable willpower and insane lifelong grind, he activated a super rare skill called Second Reincarnation. The goddess offers him a cheat code, like a 2x EXP boost, to make his next life a breeze. But Eftel, with pure Chad energy, flat out rejects it. He confidently tells her he doesn't need any handouts. The magic knowledge hardwired into his brain is more than enough. All he wants is time to grind from scratch and reach the top on his own. The goddess smiles at his hardcore mindset and sends him off to his new life. Eftel opens his eyes again, but plot twist, he's a 4-year-old kid. All his memories as the Lightning Emperor come flooding back. He's now living a super wholesome life with a mom who adores him, but his obsession with magic is still burning inside. Taking advantage of being alone, he decides to recreate the aptitude test from his past life to see if his new body has any potential. He sets up the vials, drops in a hair, and waits. But tragically, history repeats itself. The vials stay completely clear. zero magical aptitude all over again. Eftal just sighs. He kind of expected this, but instead of breaking down like last time, he accepts it with a smile. He's just gonna have to grind even harder and break his limits all over again. But that chill vibe doesn't last. The sky instantly darkens and a massive, blood-red-eyed dragon attacks the fields, heading straight for the capital. The knights are absolutely terrified and helpless. Eftal runs up the hill, knowing a 4-year-old body can't handle regular magic combat. He's left with only one insane option, using his own original spell. He focuses his mana and unleashes a level 10 spell. A terrifying pillar of light and raw energy completely nukes the dragon out of the sky in a single hit. The knights are totally mind-blown by this god-tier attack. Eftal looks at his tiny, lightning-charged hand in pure shock and hype. He realizes his new body kept absolutely all of his maxed-out power from his past life as an emperor, even as a 4-year-old. Imagine waking up as a kid, but with the mind of a legendary wizard. Eftal has spent 3 years buried in books to face the mind-blowing truth. He's reborn 400 years into the future. His mind is racing. How did everything change so fast? A soft knock breaks the silence. His mom, Ilya, opens the door to find Fraser, Eftal's handsome older half-brother, handing over their monthly allowance with a warm smile. A quiet moment showing a proud family relying on handouts. Azur steps inside and his eyes immediately lock onto the massive pile of advanced books in front of little Eftal. He's completely stunned. How is a kid his age reading this heavy stuff? Eftal plays it cool with a smart smile. Then, with total fake innocence, he drops the big question. When is father, Duke Alcott, coming to visit? The pacing slows down. Fraser's face sinks into pity as he mutters, "Sorry, champ. Father is swamped with empire business and can't make the time." Here is where the tea spills. Eftal has literally never laid eyes on his dad. The plot twist? Duke Alcott is actually the great-grandson of the Lightning Emperor, which means he's Eftal's own descendant from his past life. But since his mother, Ilya, has zero magical talent, the Duke's legal wife and other mistresses treated her like trash and exiled them to this middle-of-nowhere countryside. Eftal is basically an unacknowledged outcast. If it weren't for Fraser's kindness, they'd be completely doomed. Razor changes the subject, asking Eftal, "What's the game plan for when you grow up?" Eftal's eyes light up as he shouts, "I'm gonna join the Imperial Magic Academy." Boom! Sudden comedy gold. Ilya turns into a total helicopter mom, instantly clamping her hand over his mouth with a panicked, awkward laugh. Haha, he's just kidding. We have zero magic, Fraser. Eftal is gonna master the sword and join the military academy. Eftal gets the hint. In this era, his zero magic stat is public knowledge. Fraser smiles. "Hey, I graduated top of my class there. How about I test your sword skills right now?" Ilya squeals with joy, hugging Eftal so tight he's literally suffocating, thinking, "Are you guys trying to kill me with kindness? Let's jump into the grind." Eftal is out here swinging his sword under Fraser's watchful eye, but low-key, he's totally faking the struggle just to hide his god-tier strength. Suddenly, the pieces click in his mind. Fraser has been feeding him military tactics and basic education to prep him for the army, thinking it's the only way to protect his zero magic little bro. Eftal stops the act and looks Fraser straight in the eye. "I'm going to the Magic Academy, period." Fraser sighs, drops to one knee, and tries to hit him with the "everyone has different talents" talk. But Eftal shuts it down. "I have mana and I can use magic." Plus, he's dying to find out how magic evolved over the last 400 years. Fraser finally caves and makes a deal. "I'll show you real magic. Replicate even a fraction of it, and I'll personally recommend you." Fraser gears up, closes his eyes, and starts a super long, dramatic chant to summon the wind spirits. He builds up the hype and unleashes his ultimate move. Level 2, Wind Edge. With a swift strike, a wind blade slices a huge tree right in half. Fraser stands there sweating, catching his breath, totally flexing what he thinks is a legendary masterpiece in front of the kid. Eftal stares at the tree and drops a casual, "Wait, is that it?" Fraser's jaw literally hits the floor. Then, without chanting a single word, Eftal casually flicks his wrist and drops a level 4 spell. Boom! A monstrous shockwave obliterates the entire forest, carving a massive highway through the trees. Fraser's mind is completely blown. How is a 7-year-old casting high-tier magic instantly? When Eftal adds, "My bad, I can actually do level 10 but held back," Fraser's brain short-circuits and he literally faints, foaming at the mouth. Time for some big brain analysis. Eftal hits the books to compare his past era to the present, and he uncovers a shocking truth. Over the last 400 years, magic has severely regressed. The basic spells he used to teach toddlers are now treated like lost technology and forbidden high-tier magic. On top of that, casting spells instantly without a chant is now considered a straight-up myth to regular folks. Fraser wakes up screaming Eftal's name, completely traumatized by what he saw. But Eftal pulls off the ultimate gaslighting move. With a sweet, innocent smile, he convinces Fraser that the crazy explosion was actually caused by Fraser's own awesome spell, and a flying wood chip just knocked him out. Fraser, out of sheer denial, actually buys the lie and calms down. Eftal smiles, realizing that from now on, his magic training has to stay strictly top secret. We start with some god-tier stubbornness. Eftal is out here grinding with a wooden sword against Fraser, getting knocked down and eating dirt. But honestly, that past life grit is too real, and his brain straight up refuses to accept defeat. Every single time he gets swatted, his hype levels break the scale, and he bounces right back up, begging for round 2. Fast forward, Eftal is now 10, standing like a boss under a raging waterfall, slicing giant logs in half with a single wooden strike. He's low-key falling in love with swordsmanship alongside magic, thinking, wait, a legendary magic swordsman? Okay, that is a serious vibe. Suddenly, Fraser's voice cuts in, calling him over to kick off today's lesson. Fraser drops the news that today's drill is built different because he brought a legendary guest coach named Moria. The camera reveals pure beast mode, a massive giant of a man, totally bald, with a battle scar on his forehead. The second Eftal looks him in the eye, he feels a crushing, monstrous pressure like standing before a moving mountain. Moria looks down, giving him a smug grin. Show me what you got, kid. Action starts and Moria is scary fast. Eftal has to trigger his body reinforcement magic just to keep up, leaving Moria completely shook by his god-tier mana control. But Eftal's pride kicks in. He refuses to win with magic. Right then, Moria swings down with a devastating strike, and Eftal barely blocks it, but the pressure is absolutely terrifying, shaking the ground beneath him. In a split second, Eftal skillfully parries, slips out of the giant's guard, grabs his arm, and pulls off a flawless judo flip that slams Moria to the dirt in a literally cinematic, mind-blowing move. Fraser and Moria are left completely speechless. Moria gets up totally stunned, bursts out laughing, and declares Eftal passed the exam. Then Fraser drops the ultimate plot twist. Moria is actually the headmaster of the military academy, which means Eftal is officially enrolled at just 10 years old. Moria smugly giggles. Hey, you threw me, but I still won the sword match. Eftal is left standing there, brain completely buffering, thinking, how did I even end up in the army? The sky is pitch black and rain is starting to pour heavy, with Fraser standing by the window next to his mom Ilya, totally worried sick about little Eftal. But our main man is actually out here using the storm as the ultimate cover for some high-tier secret magic grind in the deep woods. He's testing a legendary level 10 spell, analyzing his stats like a pro. Damn, there's still a slight time lag on the cast and mana flow. Suddenly, a monstrous lightning bolt hits, shaking the entire forest. Fraser comes running in absolute panic. Eftal, are you okay? Eftal just flashes a sweet, innocent smile. Totally fine, bro. No need to stress. Eftal is playing chess, knowing the storm is the perfect smokescreen to hide his god-tier strength. Back inside the house, Fraser walks up to Eftal and drops a massive bombshell. Duke Alcott actually wants to meet you, champ. The second his mom Ilya hears the name, she bursts into tears of pure joy, hugging Eftal so tight he can barely breathe, feeling like this is the ultimate redemption after long years of exile and disrespect in this isolated countryside. Eftal is honestly feeling zero excitement about meeting this deadbeat dad, but seeing his mom cry happy tears and Fraser standing there with watery eyes of happiness, he decides to go along solely for their sake. He is totally overwhelmed by the love, but he's down to play his part to keep them smiling. They arrive at this ridiculously massive mansion, and Eftal is standing tall, low-key hyped to meet his descendant from his past life and see how the lineage is doing. But the second they step into the grand hall, he gets slapped with a cold reality check. Duke Alcott looks down on him with absolute arrogance, barking, "Address me as Duke Alcott. I never acknowledged you. You're nothing but a disgrace to our family." He continues his toxic trash talk. Born with the Lightning Emperor's bloodline but zero magic? The founder must be crying in his grave. Eftal stands there with literal tears running down his face, thinking, "Bro, I am the Lightning Emperor, and I am crying right now at how trash and disappointing my descendant turned out to be." The dark comedy hits its absolute peak when the Duke finds out Eftal got into the military academy as an honor student with a full scholarship. Instead of showing any pride, his face lights up as he bursts out laughing like a maniac, shouting, "Fantastic! This means my child support and living allowance payments officially stop starting today." He's literally thrilled because he won't have to spend a single cent on Eftal anymore. Eftal looks at him with sheer disgust, thinking, "Wow, what an absolute cheapskate." To top it off, the Duke looks at the massive, terrifying warrior Joachim and orders, "Go test his skills yourself to make sure he doesn't embarrass us there." Joachim flashes a creepy, evil grin, his eyes glowing with toxic purple mana as he clenches his fist and whispers, "I'll train him like a dog, sir." Eftal smiles back with a cold, terrifying confidence, staring straight into his eyes and thinking, "All right, I see how dirty this game is. Show me what you got, big guy."